Good morning, Kahal Kadosh. Beruchim Abayim to everyone. Today, day of Ta'anit Esther, Thursday, the 11th day of Adar, the second corresponding to the 21st day of March 2024. Today's class dedicated for the Refuah Shelema of Tinok, a newborn baby that Be'ezat Hashem will be released soon from the hospital, and Be'ezat Hashem at the proper time will have the zechut of the Berit Milah Be'sha'a Tova U'Muslahat. May Hashem give him Refuah Shelema among the Cholim of all of Am Israel. We also dedicating today's class for the Refuah Shelema of Tzipora Bat Marinel, Clemente Rahamim Ben Sarah, Ren Bat Lela, among the Cholim of Am Israel. Today, Ta'anit Esther. Ta'anit Esther, advance being today the 11th day of Adar the second. But today is also the Hilula of the Hida HaKadosh, the great Sephardic giant known as the Hida. The Hida is actually Chaim Yosef David Azulai. The great rabbi passed away over 200 years ago. He was born in 1724 in Jerusalem and passed away in the year 1806 in Livorno, Italy. But a miracle happened to the rabbi post-mortem, meaning after his passing. What was the miracle? Around the year 1960, which is definitely maybe like almost 20 years after the Holocaust, a bit less, 15 years after the Holocaust, there was a request to transfer the remains from Livorno, Italy, to Yerushalayim, Ir Kodesh. And the remains were transferred until today. They are buried there in the entrance of Har HaMenuchot. If you go to Har HaMenuchot in Yerushalayim, you'll see the kever of the Hida HaKadosh and also the kever of Hacham Mordechai Eliyahu alav Shalom. He was the chief Sephardic rabbi of Israel after the passing of Hacham Obadiah Yosef. Hacham Obadiah Yosef was, I think, from 1970 to 1980, give or take, and then came Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu. But on the younger years of Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, he was one of the three Hachamim involved in the reburial and receiving the remains from Livorno, Italy, into Yerushalayim. What was the miracle that happened on that particular day? That according to the story, and all this is documented and written and verified, that there was noise coming from the coffin of the Hida. There was noise coming. Can you imagine you're carrying a hearse, not a coffin, rather, and suddenly somebody's knocking? This is what happened in the day that the Hida was being buried. From the three Hachamim, which I don't recall the names, two of them fainted. The one who remained strong and firm was Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu alav Shalom. And he made a prayer and he said, Marana Hida, the great Hida, don't despair. You were taken from non-Jewish land, Livorno, Italy, and you're about to be reburied in Yerushalayim, Ir Kodesh. So I'm going to give you an opportunity now to rearrange yourself, and then we're going to proceed with the burial. Thank you so much. Baruch haba. The story tells us that there was a few additional moments of noise coming from the coffin, and eventually silence came back, and he was buried in the Har HaMenuchot burial. 50 years later, when Rabbeinu Mordechai Eliyahu alav Shalom passed away, he was buried next to the Hida. So if you go today to Har HaMenuchot, you'll see these two tzaddikim buried next to each other. This is the background of the story of the Hida. If you go to the kever of the Hida, they have like a small audio file in many languages. You press play and they tell you more or less the same story that I just said. The Hida Kadosh wrote over 80 books, are all topics of life, Talmud, Halakha, Gemara, holidays, etc. One of the things that I mentioned a few days ago was how Purim, remember Purim connects to all the holidays? The source of this statement was actually the Hida HaKadosh. So today, as we learned in the past, whenever we come across yortzites of Tzaddikim or Hilulot of Tzaddikim, like we discussed about Moshe Rabbeinu on Sunday, I believe. So let's learn a few sentences of some of the Hida statement. I will say Perashat Zachor. Perashat Zachor now is the guest of the Shabbat. Somebody asks you who is coming as a guest for Shabbat, tell him Amalek is coming. I woke you up, right? Without breakfast. You have to understand, the fact that everyone is here today learning without the delicious breakfast that we have daily, the reward is double. Or triple. I like that. I mean, why? Because we come for the sake of Torah learning. You know what this also means? That today the Hida HaKadosh is on our side. That's what's written in the holy books. You speak about tzaddikim, you learn about the life of the tzaddikim, you mention the name, now suddenly we have an advocate in Shamayim. And believe me, to have the advocate of the Hida in Shamayim, it's an unbelievable thing. So one of the topics that we left yesterday morning, not evening. Evening was the night before, but that class was in Spanish. One of the things that we left yesterday was at the end of the class how we were discussing what prompts Amalek to become activated. Remember that? And one of the things that we quoted was Rashi in Perashat Kitetse, which is the source of Perashat Zachor. Perashat Zachor is found Chumash Devarim, chapter 25, verse 17. I'm 98%. Wow, what a miracle.
Again.
Arba Perashiot. I've opened it in the page before. So it says Perashat Zachor, exactly. Devarim, chapter 25, verse 17, 18, 19. And we discuss the Moed Kol Hai that explains, as well as Rashi, why suddenly when the Torah is talking about the loss of business, right? Business, measurement, weight, volume, the Torah says, make sure that all your scales and your measuring tape is the proper way. You ever go to a gas station or to a supermarket and there is a scale or there is the gas pump? Don't you see a sticker from the state? The DPR.
Calibrated.
Right, that means Department of Professional Regulation. Basically, they're giving ashgaha on the scale or the gas pump that the amount of fluid, of gasoline that is being sent to the vehicle via the pump is exactly what you are getting. In other words, the machine is not rigged, as they call it. It's not giving you less than what you're paying for. They're giving ashgaha. That's the foundation of the final paragraph of Perashat Kiteseh. Suddenly, the Torah switches the topic and discusses Amalek. Imagine yourself, we are talking now Purim, right? And we are planning a Hanukkah event. استنى شوية. You can plan Pesach during Purim. Because Purim and Pesach are 30 days apart. You can even plan Lag BaOmer in Purim. Why? Because Lag BaOmer and Purim always fall on the same day. They're not next to each other. They are far away. They are like 90 days almost. Nisan, Adar, Nisan, Iyar. Minimum 60 days. But the Pasuk says in the book of Tehillim, Peleg. Peleg is Purim, Lag. Purim and Lag BaOmer, they are connected. That's a differential. So it says, Rashi, that Amalek becomes activated when there is no honesty in business. That is what Rashi writes. Let's read the Hida HaKadosh. So the Hida HaKadosh, it says a few things. Number one, it says, what prompts Amalek to activate against the Jewish people? And I'd like to ask you a question. When it comes to Amalek, the Torah says, go wage the war against Amalek. Erase his name. Remember and don't forget. Yet, when it came to Paro in Egypt, we have no obligation of erasing the Egyptian nation. You know what some people do, right? You know what some people do? When they buy a pair of shoes or sneakers, they write the name Amalek underneath.
Oh yeah, on the bottom.
On the bottom of the shoe. And when they walk, they erase the name of
Daily.
Amalek. True story.
24/7.
By the way, true. I know people who do that. I don't do it. Maybe I used to do it in my childhood years. But as an adult, I don't think I do it. Because I use a different tactic to get rid of Amalek. One of them is Torah learning. That's simple. It's the easiest to defeat Amalek. Because if you write the name on the sole of your shoe, but there is no change in our behavior, in our spiritual behavior, what do you think? That Amalek is going to press delete and it's going to be gone? No, we need to deflate him. And as the Gemara writes, you want to deflate Amalek? There is a few weapons of mass destruction. One of them is Torah learning. So another one, it says, Hilul Shabbat. Desecration of Shabbat. Now, we already know this concept. That Shabbat really, it's the covenant between Am Israel and Hashem. Beni uben bnei Israel ot hi le'olam. That's the eternal covenant. So if there is someone that is interfering in my connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need to remove the interference. It's like you have static on the cell phone. What do you say? Let me hang up and call you back because I'm not able to hear you well. So this is Amalek. Amalek interferes in our godly connection. So then what can I do to block that? I need to have an antivirus against Amalek. Which one are you going to use? McAfee? Norton? LifeLock?
Galimidi.
Hazak Baruch. You come to the Bet HaKnesset, you charge your batteries, you get a free antivirus protection plan, you learn Torah, we enhance the observance of the Shabbat, and comes the Hida HaKadosh, and it says, one more. Diburim. What we talk about. And let's clarify. I don't believe, buenos días, William. I don't believe that is referring only to Shabbat. It's referring the way we talk. Diburim asurim, nibulpe, lashon hara, rechilut, slander, gossip, foul language, all this matters. And it says, dibur asher b'ma'amaro naki ubar. It says, you want to block Amalek? Make sure that your words are clear and are clean. Bar is from barur. What's the meaning of the word barur? Clear. Barur. You speak Hebrew? Barur. Clear.
No Israelis?
No, of course, we got. No, everybody's confirming. Clear and naki. Clean. Why? Because if we are saying, as the Torah writes, Hakol Kol Yaakov, that there is no, how do I say this? In the spiritual realm of Judaism and anti-Semitism, okay? There is no such a thing as stable. Other Judaism is stronger or anti-Semitism is stronger. There is no 50-50. It's not a game. Now, why do I say this? Because I'm using these two words just to understand what is Yaakov and Esav war. Yaakov represents the Jewish people. Esav represents anti-Semitism. It's not new. Anti-Semitism is not new. It happened from the time of Ishaq Avinu with Ishmael. But if you're not so comfortable with that, it definitely activated between Esav against Yaakov. And already we learned the other day the pasuk, Hakol Kol Yaakov, Ve'ayadayim Yedei Esav. The Torah says, as long as the voice of Yaakov, of prayer, of tefillah, tehillim, Torah learning, the way Yehudi talks, is activated, that is the powerful voice of Yaakov. So then the hands of Esav, the animosity and the anti-Semitism get subdued. But if God forbid, Hakal Kol Yaakov, if the voice of Yaakov becomes weak, then Esav, that's what the Hida Kadosh writes, then the Esav has the power to activate himself against the Jewish people. Now, the Hida Kadosh goes further. Now, what other Avon can activate Amalek? It says the Hida Kadosh, Al Het Lashon Hara Ba Amalek. That is the title of the next paragraph. It says, for the sin of Lashon Hara, God forbid, Amalek comes. So the question is, how do I fix Lashon Hara? You know, Lashon Hara, it's Lashon Medaberet Gedolot. The Pasuk says, the tongue that talks a lot. The less we talk, the less we see. So comes the Hida and quotes the following. Gemara Irachim. Maita Kantam. Okay, a person is listening now, Lashon Hara. The Gemara writes, Lashon Hara affects three people, right? The one that said it, the one that listened to, and the one spoken about. Three people afflicted by this.
Why
right?
the spoken about?
Because
he's not guilty.
He is guilty because his actions may have prompted people to talk. Because Lashon Hara, just to clarify, is the emet. Mosi Shemra it's lying. It's defamation of character. Lashon hara is emet. But we're not really talking Lashon hara as a whole, just to bring what the Hida Kadosh says in his honor. So it says, Maita kantam, a person wants now to remedy Lashon hara. I be the first one to say that we should make the effort because we don't know the consequences. I remember a few years ago, I got a phone call from a rabbi in Brooklyn. Maybe 5-10 years ago, less than 10 years. It happened here in Aventura. And a rabbi called me up, asked me, Rabbi, I need you to do a deep research. On what? He says, there is a shemu'ah. There was a rumor about someone that something happened even years earlier, and the family found out, and they want to break their shidduch. Okay? The rabbi gave me some superficial details. I said, I'm in Florida many years. I don't recall hearing a case of this nature, but let me do some research. And I started to make research, not because I needed to do the research, but because I understood there is a young couple getting ready to get married, and a dear friend of Brooklyn, one of the rabbis of the community, called me to see if we can save the situation. And I said to myself, okay, let me try to help. I made one phone call, 2 phone calls. By the 3rd phone call, I wasn't getting anywhere. By the end of the 3rd phone call, the person says, maybe try to locate a person named this and this. Maybe he knows details. When finally I located this person, we're not talking about that go to WhatsApp and find the person. We're talking the early days where most of us still had a flip phone. Okay, going back 10, 12 years even. To make a long story short, Baruch Hashem, I was able to locate this person, and he gave me the full picture of what really had transpired. And at the end, this person, which is not a rabbi, which is not a Talmid Chacham, is a wonderful community person, traditional. He says to me, Rabbi, he can be double my age by now. Baruch Hashem is alive and well. Baruch Hashem. Because we kept in contact through the years. He comes here occasionally and he tells me, now I understand what the Lashon hara does. Like the student who went to the rabbi. Remember the story? The student went to the rabbi and he says, I don't understand. What's the big deal? So remember the rabbi said, meet me in the Empire State Building, come with a pillow. And the student asked the rabbi, are we going to sleep in the Empire State? He says, no. But nevertheless, come with a pillow. So what the young man thought, okay, the rabbi wants to sit in the elevator on a chair and wants to have a cushion. So what did the rabbi do? He opened up the pillow in front of the young man, took a handful of feathers, and threw them down the balcony, whatever that area it's called. After 2-3 minutes, the rabbi says to the young man, go and collect all the feathers. You heard of this? Collect all the feathers.
Never heard this one.
Right?
Never heard this one.
Okay, collect all the feathers. The young man says to the rabbi, Hacham, it's impossible to collect the feathers. It says that is the damage that happens when Lashon hara. So if we want to fix the war against Amalek, the Hida says, work on that department, and it says, if it's, of course, remember what we learned maybe 1 or 2 months ago during the period of the Shovavim, and it says, I'll tell you in plain English what one of the messages may have come from Sha'arei Kedusha. And the Sha'arei Kedusha writes, and it says, I'm 98% that that's the source, but definitely from the Hawk, it says, as long as my words are inside of me, I'm in charge. I mean, a king.
No,
I'm the king of my
it
silence.
does.
Once my words came out, he says, I'm the slave
You're lost.
of my words. Deep thought. Next. So it says,
Yeah.
and what happens if now the person wants to remedy? He says, rule number 1, increase in your Torah learning. And Be'ezat Hashem, because Torah learning has to do with the mouth of the person, like God forbid a person that ate tarif, God forbid, through a certain period of their life. How do you remedy the avon of eating tarif? Not complicated at all. Eat kasher. That's it. Start eating kasher,
Right.
and that reverses. So it says here, if the avon was by talking, so the biper must be done with talking. So what options do you have? It says, rule number 1, Torah learning. It's like you're washing your mouth. Remember how when we were children, some of us still are, and we heard that they used to put soap in the kid's mouth or put hot pepper if the child will curse. Remember those days?
The mother,
Right.
I'll wash your mouth if you
Right.
say a bad word.
Hazaku Baruch. I remember that. Right. Okay? And what happens? That's basically what the Hida said. I need to clear my speech. How do I do that? It says learn Torah because you're going to achieve a few things. Number 1, it will spiritually refine the area of the body that's seen through lashon hara or cursing or whatever it may be. Number 1. Number 2, when the person learns Torah, just the essence of Torah learning, it adds a certain level of awareness on the person's life. Comes the Hida further, and it says, Amalek ba mehamad sinat hinam. Lack of unity among the Jewish people. And here the Hida brings an interesting hidush. Esav is the enemy of the Jewish people. So far, so good.
Yeah.
So if Esav is the worst enemy of the Jewish people, who is the best friend of the Jewish people?
Yaakov.
Yaakov. But if I'm going to find a substitute for the name of Yaakov, Shalom. Shalom is our best friend. So far, so good?
Aaron maybe, no?
Okay. Comes the Masechet Kalla, the Vash from the Hida, Shalom begematria Esav. Let's do the numbers. Esav 376. Shalom 376. Which way you want it to be? Shalom, which is Hashem's name, or Esav, which is the enemy of the Jewish people.
Amazing, huh?
Fascinating concept.
It is.
I'm gonna put it in writing because I think we need to see it. Esav, I'm writing in script. 300, Ain is 70, Vav is 6. Shalom, 300, 30, Lamed 40, Mem 7, Shalom. Esav or Shalom? Is a QR in the middle of the road. You arrive at dead end, and they give you
A fork.
a fork. Thank
You
you.
know what I mean?
Left or right? Left or right? Shalom is the right, and Esav is the left.
Doomsday.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
Wow. Next. So we discuss the Torah, we discuss Shabbat, we discuss the way that people talk. And the Hida expands on all these particular matters that we discuss, expanding a bit this particular topic. One more concept, the Hida Kadosh writes, and it says there is one area that, just one second. Okay. It's a bit lengthy, but I'm going to tell you in summary what he said. There is an area in life that every Jew must invest in for their own spiritual well-being, besides the mitzvot that we do. The Hida Kadosh calls it Midat HaDevekut. Devekut is not a new topic. We even mentioned it not long ago. Devekut means cleaving to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, gravitating towards God. In our Torah, there are a few places where this gluing is mentioned, in marriage and in godliness. In marriage, the pasuk says, "Be'edavat be'ishto, behayu lebasar ehad." The Torah talks about marriage, and it says, you bond with your wife, you cleave to your wife, you glue yourself to your wife, and you become a single entity. That's why a man prior to marriage, it's considered incomplete. After marriage, children, etc., all that helps. That's the bekut in marriage. The second time the Torah talks about the bekut, although the word the bekut is mentioned scattered a few times in the Torah, but the second one is Be'atem hadevekim ba'Hashem Elokechem, meaning to say, as long as I'm connected, I'm alive. God forbid, a person goes to visit somebody in the hospital. What do you see? They are connected to medical equipment. Because if they are not connected, maybe they will not make it, God forbid. Same thing in the spiritual level. So the Hida Kadosh explains, and it says that the more connection the person has with a Kadosh Baruch Hu, the stronger defense mechanism the person has against the spiritual challenges of the outside world, especially under the auspices of the Yetzer Hara. Now, one more. The Torah talks about the development of the war against Amalek. The pasuk writes, when Moshe Rabbeinu, right here, the pasuk writes, Behaya ka'asher yarim Moshe yado begavar Israel. When Moshe Rabbeinu literally means will lift up his hands, the Jewish people will become stronger. Upon this, the Gemara brings a question, and it says that you think that the hands of Moshe, bechiyadav shel Moshe, osot milchama? What? You're telling me because Moshe Rabbeinu was raising his hands, automatically the Jewish people were getting rid of the enemies? So the Gemara says that the lifting of the hands to Shamayim, Moshe Rabbeinu was manipulating the heart of the Jewish people to turn towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is the answer. But the Torah uses a key word, Begavar Israel. and the Jewish people will become strong. As the Hida Kadosh, why or what is the meaning of the word gavar? So it says the Hida, Rashi Tevot, Gomle Hasadim, Baishanim Rahmanim. It says when the Jewish people took upon themselves to act in the proper Jewish way. What does it mean? There are 3 character traits which are not negotiable in Judaism. Number 1, Gomle Hasadim, performers of act of kindness. Baishanim, bashful, I think it's called in English, right? And Rahmanim, compassionate. That these 3 mitzvot were given to the Jewish people. And God forbid, if these 3 elements are not pursued, begavar Amalek, meaning to say, as long as we act with proper derecheres, midot tovot, rahmanut, hasadim, we are good. But if God forbid, we have, as the Hida HaKadosh says, you have kin'ah, sin'ah, b'mahloket, God forbid, envy, jealousy, or hatred, God forbid, or mahloket, this is feeding the animosity of Amalek. Unbelievable, unbelievable, unbelievable.
Rahmanut, amazing.
Yes, unbelievable. And then the Hida utilizes different perspectives of saying the following. Don't dwell too much in the past. Let's say a person suddenly is saying, Uli, because of my Hilul Shabbat, terrorism has the power to attack the Jewish people. Because I didn't speak nice to someone, I'm guilty? Yes. Let's be honest here. I said this not long ago. We came across an interesting source that says, Goim, enemies of the Jewish people, cannot act against the Jewish people unless the Jewish people allow them to do so. And then someone asked, who will allow such a terrorist to act against the Jewish people? That allowance doesn't need to happen, you know what, I allow you. It's through our actions. When Yehudim among ourselves have this type of situations, it opens up a wall for our enemies to penetrate. So the Hida Kadosh says, so how do I reverse? You know what the Hida says in summary? Look forward. I'll finish with this. You drive a car? Do you drive? Professor?
Yes, I drive.
Excellent. I'm sure the rest of us drive.
And you
Now,
drive too?
I drive also.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. I said this to somebody yesterday night. If you don't have a car in Aventura,
Forget about it.
you don't eat. He couldn't understand. I said, the closest place to buy water to the synagogue is 3 miles away. So you must have a car. When you drive a car, you have, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this, 2 items in your car that are lessons for life. When you sit in your car, there are 2 components of the vehicle which are lessons for life, to live a meaningful life.
Buckle up.
Is, besides buckle up, obviously, that's easy.
Oh, Maye.
Stand. You have the rear view mirror and the front windshield. The rear view mirror is very small. The windshield covers the entire front of the vehicle. Why? You know what they are telling us? Don't dwell too much in the past.
Look forward.
Look forward. When you look forward,
Beautiful.
all your life is in front of you. But if you're going to reverse and you're going to make your windshield to be your past and the rear view mirror, which is minuscule, to be your front, you're going to have hiccups. You know what the Hida Kadosh says? Obviously, in the time of the Hida, I don't think that there were vehicles.
No, hamor.
Whatever.
Forward.
But the Hamor has no mirror.
No.
Okay? But, you know what the Hida says? Now that we know where is the security breach on the Jewish essence of all of Am Israel, start working to the solution. You know, in Hebrew, they say, En so'akim al ha'avar. In English, it will be, don't cry over spilled milk. What does this mean from the Talmudic perspective? It says, if you're going to start now saying, oh, I desecrated the Shabbat so many times, I said so many things, we're not saying not to do it, but don't fall into the trap. Because don't dwell into that trap. Because that is a trap of the Yetzer Hara. Yes, the Hida says, okay, Mehila, God, I sinned,
Aviti pasha.
Hatati, Aviti, Pashati, I wasn't careful the way I spoke, I wasn't careful on my Shabbat observance, I did not invested any time to learn Torah, but now, today, I woke up to understand that we can call the shots of whatever it's happening in the world, because you need to know things. And with this I'll finish, Be'ezat Hashem. If you think that because we are physically far away from Israel or from whatever part of the rest of the world where Jewish people are living in, and that makes the problem less,
No.
that's a big mistake. Kulanu bene ish echad nahnu. We are all from the same Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Veleah. That's why the Torah calls the Jewish people Adam. Atem keruim Adam. Why the Jewish people are called Adam? Short answer, because Adam is the only word about a human that does not have plural connotation. Ish anashim, gever gevarim, ish isha, isha nashim, giberet giberotai. All these words, two genders, male and female, have
Plural.
and singular. Adam,
ما في
only
أدبي.
singular. You know why?
ما في أدبي.
Because we are all one.
Wow.
Doesn't matter where we are. Is the same Torah, is the same mitzvot. Sure, there is a discrepancy in traditions. I agree.
No big
But
deal.
that's not what makes the difference.
Torah.
The Torah, our connection with the past, for the present, and investing for our future. And that's why the Torah says in Perashat Ha'azinu, She'al avicha ve'yagedcha zekenecha ve'yomru lach. Speak to your father, speak to your grandfather, and capitalize on their life lessons for your life and for your future. Because that's the way we live. We receive from our parents, we apply it to ourselves, and we invest for our children. That's how it goes. And I'm not talking now finances. I'm talking about Judaism. So B'ezrat Hashem, let it be in the zechut of the Hida Kadosh and the internal message of the beautiful things that we learn, especially that this is going to be the Shabbat Zachor coming up, B'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow evening. Let us try to work on the pillars of repair that the Hida mentioned: interaction with people, unity, harmony, friendship, proper vocabulary, observance of Shabbat, enhancing our observance of Shabbat, and obviously increase Torah learning. And in this Zachut, Be'ezat Hashem, very, very soon we'll have the Zachut of the Geula b'mera v'yamenu. Amen. Tizkol לשנים רבות. May everybody have an easy and meaningful